out of the blue, I got a call from India head of one of the captive centers. And he told me, look, Ravi, I just got your reference from this guy, I have a serious problem now. And I said, what's the problem? He said, look, we have 6,000 employees, 4,000 in India, 1,000 in US, 1,000 in somewhere else in Asia Pac. In next 10 days, I have to move all of them to work from home because of COVID. I don't know how to go about it. I don't know whether my infrastructure is ready, my AWS cloud is ready, my security, do I need to give new laptops? What I need to do, how do I secure them? What is the network required? I don't know it, but in next 10 days, my management wants me to all 6,000 people to be operational. And I have a BCP team and I need some technical experts to work with them. And within about 72 hours, we started engaging. And in 10 days time, nearly 6,000 people were working from home. That's how I see crisis. And that's what I tell people, just understand it first, address it, communicate about it, and then, normally it comes out. And if there is something beyond what you think you've already done, take help from somewhere, look up, look sideways, and take help from somewhere. That's all.
Hello everyone, Ashok here. Thank you for tuning in to this 26th episode of Indian Startup Stories, a podcast thriving to bring out experiences and insights from entrepreneurs across India. Today, our guest is Ravindra Talwai, founder and CEO of GradientM, a company bringing solutions and services to enable digital transformation journey with their deep expertise lying in cloud, automation, audit, and many more. In this episode, Ravi shares his background, rich experience as a senior leader in multiple MNCs, changing the track and starting the journey of entrepreneurship alone, and addressing the burning issues for enterprises, bridging the needs of talent and availability in the market, IT consulting and training, how to position yourself when you start a business, thoughts on compliance, data protection act and governance in Indian ecosystem, his team building strategy, customer success stories, and much more valuable information for you to take away. So without further ado, let's jump in. Hi Ravi, thank you for coming on Indian Startup Stories today. Welcome.
Hey, hi Ashok, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing very good, thank you. To start with, please share about your background, about your academics and career.
Yeah, Ashok, basically my background has been, I did my engineering from Hubli in Karnataka. Then later, as I was working in my initial days with HCL, I also did my management at Jamnalal Bajaj in Mumbai. That was about for 3 years, juggling both work and management studies. So basically, I'm an Bachelor of Engineering in Electrical and later an MBA in Finance, actually. Yeah.
Nice. And where did you start your career? How were the initial days?
Actually, I started my career in Mumbai, actually. It was for, there was a huge Tata project coming in Mumbai. So I was working in their instrumentation and data acquisition control room for a huge power plant, right? So that was my starting point. But later I joined HCL and I was there in Mumbai and Delhi. Then subsequently my first trip abroad was to Muscat in Oman. I stayed there for a fairly long time, for about 9 years, managing the services for other IT divisions of a large business group in Muscat. So from there, in year 2000, I came back to Bangalore and I joined Wipro. That was in 2000 was the .com period, and they had just made some initiatives in .com area in terms of setting up a marketplace. So I was part of the startup team at that time in 2000. Then Wipro I stayed for a pretty long time. I would say almost about 12 years, about 3-4 years in the domestic business, where I was taking care of the North region from Delhi for various professional services. Then I came back in 2004. Wipro had, they also have a global business, that's Wipro Technologies. I was called in to take charge one of the largest programs of theirs, where they had signed a relationship. It's an oil giant, number 3 oil giant in the world, and they wanted me to take charge of that relationship from day one. So I managed that account, and then I became the head for energy and utilities and manufacturing. My specialization always been in the areas of infrastructure and cloud and global IT outsourcing. So I was managing about almost over $200 million business there at Wipro for this particular line of business. Then later, after about 12 years in Wipro, I joined Cognizant, which had just beginning to start up their infrastructure practice and was scaling it up. So I was part of the core leadership team to scale up, and I was there for about 8 years. My last role was head of Europe delivery and transformation. I was based in Amsterdam, looking after Europe and UK together. So till about 2017 August, I was there, and I came back 2017, and then probably took a break for some time and slowly started advising some of my friend companies. And then 2018 July September timeframe is when we registered GradientM and started getting the initial team. So we were operational in 2018 September. So roughly about 28, 30 years in the global IT industry, predominantly in the infrastructure and cloud space. And I was fortunate to engage with a lot of Fortune 100 companies at the CIO level and IT director level. Because I was always working for big companies, I had that back-end support to make a lot of things happen for them. And in the process, learned something for myself as well in terms of how the global companies are run, how the IT is set up, and how to manage an IT, and what are the technology play that impacts in business and those kind of things. So this is broadly my experience. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. That's a very rich experience backed up before starting GradientM. That's nice. Please talk about your company, GradientM. What do you do and who are your customers?
Okay, basically, GradientM, if you look at it, right, there is so-called services pillars, if I have to say, right. Consulting is one, area. We do IT strategy consulting. Some we do directly. Some of it, we work for big fives. And we do consulting consulting, we take it as some kind of a problem solving, actually, right? The client call consultants when they have either a burning problem or they need a second opinion on some strategic initiatives, right? For example, one of the clients we have started working this Monday is, they want to improve their testing automation, by a big margin. So how do we do? What do we do? We do an assessment, look at the frameworks of automation, then tell them this is how to go from point A to point B. These are the tools and scripting that we need to do. This is the governance you need to do. And so basically help them improve their automation. That is one area of consulting. Second is many of these startups and SaaS providers, fast growing startups, they don't have proper process frameworks. That's everything is run ad hoc. So one of the clients had called us for to set up the entire ISO 27K software process, right? So we right from scratch, we build up and we deploy the processes. And the third thing is cost reduction. And everywhere the CIO, CFO, they want cost reduction. They want someone to come in and say, look, are our costs at benchmark level? Where can we improve? What are the levers we can pull and all that stuff? So strategy consulting, automation, cost reduction, process deployment. In fact, one of the customer, we are 100%, wanting to do an HIPAA enablement. It's not started yet. It may start mid of next month. HIPAA enablement for a medical healthcare platform, right? So these are various consulting areas. As I said, it is more problem solving and also, in terms of addressing a burning issue.
Okay, that's nice. So how did it all begin? What was the spark moment or the ideation phase?
Actually, I kind of I was more keen probably when I kind of left Cognizant. I wanted a little more explore about training and coaching and those kind of things. I'm also a Gallup certified coach.
Okay.
But what happened was I was kind of advising one of my friends. He said, "Look, I have a unit there. Probably it's closer to your house. Why don't you go and spend some time there and help my team to address some of the issues?" So I did it for about 6 months, and then I came to know how the small organizations are run, right? Then I was missing the entire ecosystem of clients and people, teams working, partnerships, alliances, and the whole marketplace information and exchange. And I thought I was still missing out. And there is so much of runway, energy, knowledge, and opportunity to learn and deploy, apply your experience, right? So I think there is so much of runway. Why can't I cannot do it and still have fun, right? If it's your own company, obviously you can shape it and scale it and the way you want, and then you can bring the right team together. So that was the moment, and then it was started churning in my head as to what it should be, what is that? Because many of them, my friends told me that when you start a company, you are the brand. There is no brand. Okay. So
Yeah.
customers will look at you as what they can take from you rather than about your company. Your company is just a label. So I think that is how it started, and then the whole thing about what should we be in? Should we be obviously consulting was the first choice because that is where I was already doing some kind of ad hoc consulting for some of the big fives. So I said, that's a natural extension. I'll bring people like me, for example, in every area. I may not have the expertise to consult, but I'll bring people like me to port their experience to customers, solving customer problems. That was one. And infra and cloud is anyway my legacy practice for 30 years. Infra has become cloud now, but earlier it was data centers and all that stuff. So I said that should, because that I can play to my strength and apply my experience and also leverage on the network. What was happening was whenever we were meeting clients, even in Cognizant or Wipro, we want to talk about a lot about transformation and all that. But the client would bring us down to a ground level and say, it's all fine, but right now I have a big problem. I don't have a project manager in this role for last 6 months. And my developer, I need an architect. I need an enterprise architect. I need an application architect. I need a network architect. So somewhere I find that there's a huge mismatch between the needs of the talent on the ground and availability in the market. And therefore, talent acquisition is the one business which I wanted to include in. And I know it's a very tough business and a rigorous business. It's very hard to get good talent. But you don't believe that is one of the, businesses that's kind of feeding our accruals actually, right, on an ongoing basis. And a lot of customers, they come to me and, hey, we got your reference to someone, can you help me, in terms of, assessing this network? Can you give me a best network architect or something? So I think talent acquisition and consulting and cloud are the three main forays into which, we thought we should be. Apart from that, some of the customers said that, look, it's all about platforms and products and all that. It's no longer about services. So we thought that, we'll bring in some complementary set of products to help our line of our services. So we tied up, for example, with Satish's company for bots, as a automation at the customer front end, right? Back end, we already had some solutions. Then,
with Intentico, right?
Intentico. Then we also, off late, we had started to work on AI ops, where we want, because our expertise is in operations, our expertise is in the thick of, technology play actually, right? So we are trying to see whether AI can be used for building smart operations, finding root cause analysis faster, or building some kind of a historical data to predict a maintenance of IT systems going forward. So that is something we are trying to do with some pilots with working with some of the products. That is it'll get launched in this year. So products play is basically based on the startups tie-ups that we have, and we are upfront with customer. We bring in the niche product with with its unique proposition, but we apply our integration experience to make that product solve your problem. That's what it is.
Nice journey and nice start. You have driven multiple organizations, being in leadership position, serving giants like Wipro, Cognizant as general manager, VP, and so on. How difficult was it for you to make the decision of forming your own company? In your earliest stints, you might have had full control under your wings, being in senior leadership. But starting a new company is always starting from scratch. So, wanted to know the reason of why, and also the journey how.
No, actually, yes, it's totally, it's two different words, right? For example, probably in Cognizant, I had some 30 directors across the globe reporting, about 5,000 people across the globe, right? So there, you're required only at a particular point of client engagement where you need to bring in value of your expertise and manage the P&L, right? But when you do a startup, you have to adapt to a different culture altogether, right? For example, you cannot hire real senior guys because you can't afford to pay them, right? And most important thing is, we have to bring in people and build them. And you have to have a lot of patience. You can't get ready-made people because you can't afford them, right? So you have to build people probably about to one or two levels below you, work with them and bring them up. And so that over a period of year, they become more valuable for you. And they also see value. In fact, many of the people whom I hire, after I hire them, I know them a little bit more after a month or so, I ask them, why did you join us? Sir, we saw your LinkedIn profile and joined. We saw your LinkedIn profile and we know that, and we have spoken to We have friends in Cognizant, Wipro. We have spoken. They have all liked working with you. That's why we are joining. So I think one is in the startup world. You cannot take a lot of things for granted. In a big company, probably you can leverage by sending email. You can leverage a backend to work for client. In startup, you have to be hands-on, and clients expect your oversight because at least 70-80% of my clients are reference-based, actually, based on reference. So when they come to me, they come to me with a certain level of trust in me, so I'll get things done. So they expect me to be overseeing it little more closely. So one is in terms of getting used to building up a team, which is probably needs to scale up as they join, right? And working with them and making them do what they have. And second, you will obviously not have all the functions, all the structures, and you have to adapt, and you have to convince your team that what needs to be done in the next 1 month, 2 months, 1 quarter, and rally around. And I think over a period of time, I have been able to build a business model which has the flexibility of a core team and an external consulting team who pitches in as and when I need, right? So, and I pay for them for the time they spend with me and all that. So I'm able to get expertise on tap for myself and for my clients. But I still do have a core team, which is able to drive the business operations. Actually, that's how it. But I knew that I had to go through this journey because I can't have a similar thing that I had. But see, at the end of it, you want to make it work, actually. So that itself energizes you, and whatever challenges come, you end up tackling it, right? So that's how it is.
Okay, that's nice. Pretty good reason of how and why. Please share about your core founding team. What are the challenges you faced and what are the conflicts you had to handle before kickstarting your business, GradientM?
See, actually, this is one of the I went through a lot of deliberations within myself because, this all said and done, each startup will have its own founder stamp on it, right, in some way or the other. Right? So I was thinking, should I bring in a set of people and, then have more bandwidth and more investment and get started? And then I said, no, let me kind of do it alone, right? Of course, I did it with family funding. So my wife also is one of the directors and she handles talent acquisition part. So what I decided to do was, let me shape this up, put the building blocks, see how the market responds, what clients say about the organization, where we build traction, where we get clients. And because initially I thought that I'd had a lot of clients from Europe and US and all that, but later it was some 30% global, 70% India, right? So I think, I thought, let me shape the destiny of the company for the first 2-3 years. Then when I'm really clear that where I'm heading, what is my value proposition, then bring a strategic investor. So after about 2.5 years, we are clear on where we are heading. We know where we need money. We need money funding to scale up sales and marketing. We need funding in terms of building a robust pre-sales structure, right? So now I'm very clear where I'm heading and what services we have, where the clients have given traction, and we have reference clients for each of the services, both in India and abroad. So there is a story to tell. So right now, we are looking for strategic investors in Europe and in India who not only bring in money, who will bring in their network, because right now my own network is being leveraged a lot. So I need a lot more, funnel of new clients through strategic investors. So we are looking for probably during 2021, maybe we'll have 1 or 2 strategic investors coming in, to help us in various areas. Right now, the way I build my business model is in an execution layer. I have got a core team and a flex team of experts who come in and go as and when I need. Either it could be for internal practice build-up or for client services. And the front end, I have I also have an inside sales team who drive a lead generation. And I have a digital marketing manager who helps. He just came in last month and he's trying to make it SEO friendly and those kind of things. But on the front end, I have a partner in California. And most of these are people who work with me. Then I have another partner who just does the social media lead generation for me through their contacts, right? So we all work on variable cost model, and also to ensure that there's no fix. So I'm trying to have my own outreach to the partner and outreach to the inside sales to drive the funnel, and also I keep connecting through various mechanisms to the CIOs and IT directors through network and see where I can help them actually. So it's completely funded by my own family funding, but we will bring in investors as we go into this year, and because that is the next required for the next stage of scale up from my perspective.
Okay, nice. You have picked up variety of skills and not just like-minded, but also like people with a different, bringing different values to your board. That's
Uh,
wonderful, including social media and the digital marketing space.
yeah.
Nice. In your professional services, since you are handling GDPR and audit-related projects as a core activities, and GDPR being the data protection regulation in EU, how do you see such data protection aspects shaping up in India, and how well do you see that it is catching up with the well expectation to the market?
No, but actually, I think, as of now, from a service provider perspective, I think there is a lot of awareness and, rigor in terms of making things happen. In fact, there are good, auditors, training organizations, and all that who can, handhold and bring the clients up to speed and, make sure that they're compliant. But
Mhm.
like any other process compliance, it's a journey, right? First of all, at the topmost level, you need commitment, and there you need to have a governance organization. Then you need to have the compliance and periodical audits that they need to. I think it's scaling up well, and service providers are responding, but there is a long way to go. There's a long way to go because at the end of it, uh, you know, uh, typically clients who have been coming to offshore to do business have been initially had that whole thing about discomfort about can this get done at offshore. Then you had a whole thing about IP protection and how does connectivity, security, and all that, right? So GDPR is one more layer that is getting added to it, but I think both the big and small providers are now respond to it. In terms of client organizations, our own client organizations who are wanting to, be GDPR compliant, because their products and services are, sold to Europe market. That demand is picking up. It is not so much as it ought to be. The demand is just picking up in terms of consulting services and helping them shape. It is not as expansive as other process compliance, let's say in healthcare vertical, HIPAA, or in other
Mhm.
Typical SOC 2 and all that stuff. So I think it will
Yeah.
pick up the plus the whole internally also, right? There is so much of debate going on within India as to how data has to be handled, how government data has to be handled with all this,
Mhm.
payment platforms and all that coming up. How does handle personal data protection? There is a lot of debate and discussion. I think probably there will be some kind of framework coming up in the next 1 year, which is more of a local India flavor, and GDPR is anyway there across. So I think the service providers will get adapted to that because that has to happen. There is no other way. Otherwise, you can't operate in those markets. Yeah,
True, true. Yeah. We are yet to see the change happening within India.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So, how big is your team on the ground? And I wanted to understand your strategy in building up your team.
So basically, this is based on what I've learned in my earlier days of leadership development and Wipro and Cognizant. So my team is about 70 people now, as of now, and
Mhm.
some of them are uh, delivering to the client in their respective role as a consultant, architect, or a developer, or whatever, or in a part of a project that is getting executed. And we are about 15 or 16 people in talent acquisition who are only sourcing day in and day out, and mostly we cater to niche profiles. Actually, that's what the clients want this thing. And as I said, we bring in people for short-term consulting. For example, during COVID times, we helped many clients to scale up their infrastructure, adapt to the BCP mode. So that people are typically getting engaged for 3 or 6 months. They come in and go for a respective assignment. So 70 people. But in terms of when we build the team, as I said, right, I brought in people who had the potential to grow, but they were not there. And first 1 year, there was a lot of handholding required in terms of bringing them up to speed. And probably if I work in Cognizant, there would be some 6 layers below my role. But here, I have to bring them and build them to my requirement, which is a good experience. So the structure is basically based on someone looking after cloud, someone looking after talent acquisition, and as I said, right, inside sales and digital marketing, one group, and in the front end there are our partner tie-ups are there in terms of go to market. So it's a fairly simple, and I'm hands-on on most of the critical things, and it's not an difficult engine to manage actually per se. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Coming to the information on funding, as it was completely bootstrapped. So, how did you manage in the initial days? Is it a complete bootstrapped one, or you try to bring in funding from friends and family? So, how challenging was that?
No, actually, in terms of bootstrapping was not a problem. And then we also had, from you need that, right? As we scale up, uh, we also learn a lot in terms of how does the MSME model works, and what are the working capital arrangement with banks that are possible. Because as a business,
Mhm.
let's say for example, in the first year we grew about 40%. In the second year we grew another 40%. This year we grow 35%. So working
Mhm.
capital requirement, we have tie up with banks to help us in the working capital. And so right now our business is run on the accruals of the services. That is one advantage which services play, right? You can accrue. You can, unless like a platform or a product development where you need to have deep pockets for 2-3 years until the product
Yeah.
starts scaling up. In services, advantage is, if you are positioned well in services, you will get into an accrual and in a profitable mode probably in about 18 months, 12 to 18 months time. So, and then of
Okay.
course, then you need to see how to scale and be profitable and have the working capital arrangements to fund your growth, right? So I think touchwood, we learned a lot of it on the way, along the way. And we work in a co-working place where earlier there were 1,000 companies. Because of COVID, there are not many. So, like for example,
Mhm.
this whole working capital thing, one of the guys, who used to coffee, he said, "Look, yeah, I know someone in Bank of Baroda. Do you want to come and meet this guy and discuss about your working capital?" So I went there
Okay.
and they said, "These are the government rules, and this is what you need to do." Went on. Then ICICI came back and said, "Now why can't we are seeing a lot of dollar flow in your account. Can we come and help you in some way?" So
Okay.
that's why. So I think working capital we are taking here, but I think if I look at scaling up 2x 3x in the next 3 years, I think we need to
Mhm.
bring in strategic investment. That's what we are working on right now.
Okay, that's nice. How did you start sales and marketing for Gradient M, and how did it has evolved over this period of
Yeah.
1.5 years, 2 years, I guess? Yeah.
So initially, it was my own contacts. I would contact some of my. So I just track the movement at the CXO level and also at the, the the service provider organization of what changes are happening. So I reached out to some of them, made my pitch. We went through, in some of the cases, we went through a rigorous empanelment process as to why should we be doing business, where will you bring value to us, why should we have you as a vendor, we've got other 30 vendors, and those kind of things. So in some cases, they say that, look, there is a burning problem right now. If you solve that problem, we'll empanel, right?
Mhm.
So, like one of the large mortgage services business MNCs from US, they say that we have got all the big vendors, we can't take you in. But if there is a problem, if you come and solve the problem, then we'll empanel. So that is what we did for them, and they had some instability in their, Citrix infrastructure. We helped them, kind of stabilize that Citrix infrastructure and made sure that
Okay.
it is not impacting business. Then they gave it as a justification to go to vendor management. So I empanel these guys. Now, 1 year down the line, they are my reference customer and I'm the strategic partners. I get
Mhm.
same number of opportunities as the big companies get in terms of trying to build services for them. So this is the
Okay.
initial the using my personal network. Then I started tied up with see most of the people whom I work with are through my network. Even the marketing company is started by ex-Pro guys. My partner in US is an ex-Pro guy. So within the network, we find out what they can, then what synergy we can bring in. The guy who's there in California, he sees mine as an executioning and a solutioning arm for his company. So he
Mhm.
together we bid, and similarly the guys who are doing marketing, they are not into execution, but they are good in marketing. I built this thing. There is action in multiple fronts. Then I was not having an inside sales team, so I set up the inside sales team at beginning or in the mid of 2020. Digital marketing I didn't have. I got it last month. So I think I'm trying to
Mhm.
put all the pieces as we're scaling up instead of over investing at one time without knowing what to do. Because once you create a function, you should know what to expect from it. So till now it's been going well, and
Mhm.
there are a lot of requests. Let's say last week I had a partnership request from Australia. So people
Mhm.
and a lot of these things keeps coming. Out of the blue I get a call saying that, look, hey, we were talking to that guy, this guy, and they took your name. We heard about you. Can we work together?
Okay.
It's all
Yeah.
sometimes things come together for your benefit. Actually.
Nice. Yeah, being in services and consulting actually playing a very big edge here.
Correct. Yeah.
Nice. Now you have a very good network and tie up within the startup community in bringing up the product. How was the earlier days in GradientM? What were the challenges you faced? Can you share about few instances that you remember and close to your heart in pulling out of the challenges for yourself?
So I think the initial challenges for us, right, how to position ourselves in the cloud services, actually, right? Because if you take any cloud platform, AWS, Azure, and all, there are probably hundreds and hundreds of partners and system integrators and all that, right? So it was we were trying to figure out what is that our silver bullet, that opens the door for us, right? Opens the conversation for customer, right? So, and then what is the market space? What is the segment? Like, is it a small and medium business, be in India or abroad? Or what is who will listen to us, who will talk to us, right? So it took some time for us to figure out, how we should position ourselves in the cloud space. And also our market segment, on one hand, you have service providers who want to take services from all. Then you have an MNC captive centers. There is another segment. Third is the fast growing startups. People, startups which are growing at 2x, 3x rate, and they need a lot of services and skills. Then almost there are some SME, right? In some areas we adapted actually. For example, there is one SME in US whom we serve. We just started with some kind of technical support for products. Then we moved on to give e-commerce listing services. We moved on to give e-commerce backend operations. Then we automated this entire factory floor operations, like dispatch and all that, right? Then when I step back and look at it, for that particular customer, I'm trying to do everything possible a typical technology firm can do for him, so that he doesn't have to go anywhere else. So we are trying to, while we're wanting to do what we want to do, cloud consulting and talent acquisition, but as we are flowing in, we are adapting to the flow that the customers are guiding us to. And because if customer sees value in us in a particular way, we'll see that do we have scale and capability to do it, and let's do it that way. So I think positioning ourselves in the cloud was a little bit of a kind of a struggle. And then the customers started seeing us more as consultants. Tell me which cloud to go to. Should it be Google, AWS, or in fact, last week one of the manufacturing companies in Bangalore came to me and said, "Look, I know cloud is beneficial, it works well and all that, but I don't know how to get there. Make me take the first step, a proof of concept. Yeah, here is a small, couple of servers and applications. Take them to cloud and show me how it happens. What will be the user experience after it goes to cloud?" So we are taking them through a proof of concept journey. So that is where we spend a lot of time with them. Probably that's what they see in us. If they deal with a probably larger company, they will not get so much attention. Whereas here I'm there to talk to him, and my experts are there to talk. So I think consulting, we took it as a kind of a door opener for us in the cloud, because managed services. Anyway, there are many players. We also give managed services. We have a couple of clients taking managed services. So that was a challenge for us. On the reverse, talent acquisition, everybody wants to do business with us. Because I've heard that company, you're doing a good job there. Then we are very selective in picking up the clients there, because we know that it's a very tough thing to get the right people. And there are only so many good people in the market, right? There are so many people, but in that there are only so many good people. So each business has its different response, actually.
Okay. Yeah. Nice insight. When was the first moment of relief for GradientM since its inception? Is it from any customer wins or deals or any other
There are a
experiences?
couple in the initial stage, when we signed up an empanelment agreement with one of the large companies. That was it kind of it transitioned us from just being a company doing business with a big company, something like that, right? So that was one. And second is, my heartening moment was sometime around March 13th last year, right? Out of the blue, I got a call from India head of one of the captive centers, and he told me, "Look, Ravi, I just got your reference from this guy. I have a serious problem now." And I said, "What's the problem?" He said, "Look, we have 6,000 employees, 4,000 in India, 1,000 in US, 1,000 in somewhere else in Asia Pac. In next 10 days, I have to move all of them to work from home because of COVID. I don't know how to go about it. I don't know whether my infrastructure is ready, my AWS cloud is ready, my security, do I need to give new laptops? What I need to do, how do I secure them? What is the network required? I don't know it, but in next 10 days, my management wants me to all 6,000 people to be operational. And I have a BCP team, and I need some technical experts to work with them. And within about 72 hours, we started engaging. And in 10 days' time, nearly 6,000 people were working from it.
Wow,
We
that's
did the
excellent.
capacity performance assessment. We scaled up the cloud infrastructure. We did the security, what kind of security they should have at the front end if they take Chromebooks and those kind of things. Our experts worked day in and day out, and we gave them a BCP support for 6 months so that we are handholding them. That was really heartening for me. He said, look, when I went for the customer for a reference or a testimonial, for you, giving reference to you is so easy because you've done everything that I wanted to do. So he just wrote a nice mail and say, "You okay? Take this and use it wherever you want." So that was
Okay.
really a heartening moment because it's kind of it's a proof point for us, right? We talk so much, but we have actually done that. That was a real proof point for us. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
And of course, and I'm later in the day, it's more of an internal thing. The Indian startups, we are looking at financials almost every day, right? Every week or
Yeah.
something. So when we started, growing business, and also it started becoming P&L profitable on a monthly basis, a lot of pressure comes down, because then that there is a long way to go for you. So yeah, so these are some of the living moments, but there have been stressful moments in terms of where we couldn't tie up the working capital on time, and there were some stressful moments in terms of like for example, this whole remote work started happening, right? Most of the customers are taking critical services. Is it working properly or not? Does the guy has good connection? And some of these guys are handling critical e-commerce services, backend services, right? So does it work? Is it all work together? And how will it come through during this difficult phase? So a lot of monitoring was required, but I think it's a mixed bag of kind of good feelings and challenges at certain circumstances. Yeah.
Good stitching of the customer success stories and the moment of relief for your company. That's good. Being in consultancy, training, and services, different verticals, where do you spend most of your time focusing as a leader? And where do you see that your time is consumed a lot? So, how do you handle and what is taking your time?
See, I think when we have a so-called must-have accounts list with us, right? Either must-have accounts list or must-have segments of customers, right? Like e-commerce is one segment, right? So I see. I spend a lot of my time in thinking, strategizing about business development, acquiring clients. That is my top. Execution, I don't have challenges. I have good people, right? But I still need to oversee them and guide them because they would not have faced certain scenarios in their career, and when they face, obviously, I need to help them come over that, right? So I spend a lot of time in terms of how do we scale up our cloud services and this AI ops new process service, and I'm trying to. It's not very matured. I'm trying to put things together there, and so most of my time goes in thinking about business development, trying to get some new clients, and trying to expand the partner network as much as possible. On the consulting side and on the cloud side. As I said, talent acquisition, they're more business than I can handle. It will scale up on its own. As far as training is concerned, initially I started off with a different thing. Like for example, I should say, look, we should do a lot of training with respect to Gallup and all that because we have a team of 20 people who are certified and we can all go. We're still doing here and there. But later I realized that Gallup on its standalone probably may not deliver so much value. I should construct a training program and stitch in Gallup from a personality strength development. And let's say, for example, we have to do training for delivery managers or program directors or pre-sales team. So our training, is kind of very specific to a particular client. It is custom-made training. It is custom-built training. We know the client. We know that challenges the CEO has got. We are bringing in methodologies and training themes to suit the customer. So, and use Gallup there more as understanding the strengths of the people. But rest of it is very custom built. So training, I don't spend so much time, but some customers, when they come back and tell me that, look, can you do this? Then we stitch a solution for them and around that. And or if particular account, we are not making any headway either through consulting or through cloud or through talent acquisition. Then we go to the training manager and say, this is what we can do for you. Need a foot in the door for that account. So training, we treat it more as a leverage thing than a revenue scale up for revenue.
Okay, nicely split. how COVID has impacted you. What are the big changes that you see in yourself, and what are the dynamics which got changed for your business?
So I think there are two aspects of COVID. That's what we experienced in the last year, right? Our big clients, suddenly the business tapered off, actually, right? The existing clients, the business tapered off, or it took a downturn, in fact, because their budgets were cut and all that stuff. But on the other hand, because of that March 13 instance I quoted earlier, the COVID-related business came in. That
Okay.
neutralized, what was going as downtrend in terms of regular business. So at the end of it, if I close this financial year, one has balanced the other. That is more from a client perspective. There were opportunities. I think the COVID thing has made it very easy for us to promote remote services. It's palatable to the customer. And in fact, that is what one of the digital campaigns we are running right now is on remote services, right? Why can't you
Okay.
leverage wherever you are? Why can't you leverage on remote services, especially for niche skills, right? All that. That's what we are driving right now. So that is one thing that taught us. Second is 90% of my team works from home, different parts of India, actually, right?
Okay.
Not even just Bangalore, outside Bangalore, North India, and whatever, Mumbai and all that. It's a model is working, actually. There are no extra strains. Of course, people are not able to come together and have get-togethers and all that. That we need to figure out. And we probably from sometime another 3 months down the line, we'll have a blended model, which has the benefits of both working in the office and working from home together, right? So I think, but COVID also has uh, given us a better understanding of the healthcare vertical, because of all these things, the supply chains and all you see, how they're operating, right? So
True.
I think, there is a lot of knowledge that has come in, and remote work is scaling up and becoming palatable to customers. And our own ability to deliver remotely without any hassles is what has proven. I think these are some of the learnings and some business opportunities which came our way. We were able to convert them.
Okay, nice. As your company is playing a big role making sure that your customer navigate the digital transformation, which is what required for any business to scale. What are your plans to scale your business? Any ideas in pipeline?
Yeah, I think the cloud is something we have to scale up significant. Cloud and consulting, there is an opportunity to scale up. Consulting,
Mm.
as I said earlier, more from problem solving perspective, right? If you go to CFO, if you go to CIO, there are some lingering problems, actually, right? There are lingering problems. There are problems that are, and the customers needs a second opinion on many things. They're
Mm.
doing everything internally, but they need a second opinion on anything. I think consulting, in my view, is an untapped opportunity, both for India clients and clients abroad, right? I think we need
Mm.
to, and that consulting invariably falls into either the digital side or on the cost side, right? So that is one area where we think we have to play a larger role than what we're doing today. Then cloud, of course, we are cloud is so dispersed now, growing but very dispersed. So we are trying to see in what are the 1 2 areas where we can, like for example, right now our specialization is in infrastructure as a service and DevOps. We believe that we have a unique strengths in that with a framework and tools and bringing the right people into the play and our own experience. So probably,
Mm.
we may want to specialize in one particular area there, right? Like managing SaaS platforms. How do we help all the SaaS companies in product development, in testing, in building proof of concept, in porting their, managing their services on the underlying cloud, whatever cloud they have, and how do we make it, how to monitor user experience of the SaaS platform, and how do we proactive tell what technology can do to enhance the user experience. So we see our digital play in SaaS platforms in a big way. So we need to kind of scale up our capabilities to cater to all those areas. So cloud consulting, and in respect to cloud, I would say SaaS platforms is what an area where we can help the clients to their navigation, and in other area navigation of in their digital plans. But in many places, client have their own plans, and they say that okay, this is what we want to do, very specific to their domain. Then they come back to and they say, engage as a good data scientist with us, or engage as kind of specialist in this OpenStack, for example, right? Or specialist in DevOps. So we engage through our teams and make it work for them, because they have a bigger plan, and they want us to play some role in that plan. We will do it. That's all.
Okay, that's nice. Any instances in your journey, like what has gone wrong, and any corrections that you had to make it to pull it back and to stabilize yourself in the startup journey?
I think I think I would say I would take it as more as a course correction.
Mhm.
In terms of because our own knowledge of the market was not adequate. So both on the consulting side and on the cloud services side, we have done that course correction and adapting and responding to what the market says and what the ecosystem says, either our clients, our partners, our principals. So we have done
Mhm.
those corrections. In our case, the teams are small and the outlay is small actually, right? So even if we have gone on the wrong path, it's easy for us to correct and come back and take. But we are constantly, listening to our clients and also the partners and others, who are in the ecosystem. They can, like someone come and told me that, why don't you get into IoT, for example, right? So for
Mhm.
example, then we did an evaluation, see, we said it is not aligned to our core trend. But when the SaaS platform it came up, then we said it is our core. We are not building a platform, but we can do everything to help the customer build a platform and manage the platform. So these are some of the course corrections we have known after we started knowing the clients and understanding their requirement and where we can dovetail with them in their journey. So these are the kind of course corrections where have we kind of failed badly in any of the areas? I don't think we are not failed badly in any area. It is not that we started something and we shut it completely. But course correction we have done in terms of aspiring to grow and also finding that secret sauce for growth, if I may say so.
Okay, that's nice. For people going through failures, what is your message to uplift them?
Uh, I would say that there is always light at the end of the tunnel. Stay put, and if you have done some serious mistakes, either admit to yourself or admit to your team, and take a call on that. But see, nobody can predict how the markets evolves and how customers respond and how your own product goes through its evolution journey, right? Nobody can predict. So what you consider as failure, probably it's not actually your personal failure. It is part of the journey that you're experiencing, and and also talk to people. Most important thing is to talk to people. Talk to your the people who are invested in your company or some of your customers or in your ecosystem players. And so there is, and it's in a startup is an arduous journey actually. It's a, and you need to do a lot of prep work even before you start and register your company. Probably about 6 to 12 months, you should do a lot of prep work in your mind and put it down into the paper, plans and discuss with people. So it's a difficult journey, right? And you're choosing a difficult path, and you cannot expect everyday success and roses blooming all around, right? So take it, and nobody is, and I don't think anybody is judging you, right? The fact that you're taken up on entrepreneurship yourself and trying to work that out, that itself is a great, uh, you know, uh, tick for you, because you're trying to do something which an ordinary person is not doing. So things will reverse, things will change, products will be low. Your product may not get an initial response the way it is set up now. You need to position it or bring in new features into it, which will attract the attention of the client. And always take a problem solving approach. Actually, I think the
Mhm.
biggest advice from my side is, because when you're talking to a customer, you're showing your product. When in the interaction, are you seeing some nuggets of problem that you can solve a customer by adapting your platform to the situation? Look from those situations, because unless you really solve a pain or a problem, you cannot. Why will customer pay money to you? Right? So that's very simple. So
True.
I think what I mean, failure is a relative term. Actually, you can fail 9 times and be successful on the 10th time. But when you are successful on the 10th time, you'll say the learnings of the 9th time helped you on the 10th time. So it's all relative,
Yeah.
actually, how you take it, and no need to get worked up so much, right? Unless
Mm.
don't expose yourself to too much of a financial risk, because financial risk is very hard and it is real, right? So
Mm.
before you take any financial decisions, get it vetted, talk to the legal guys, talk to the finance guys, architect, friends, well wishers. Take a combined view, because you may not be so experienced in making a financial decision. So that would be only be my advice. Yeah.
Okay, nice. In your experience, like you have led in leadership role in big companies, then you have moved on to your own startup. These days you also have so many young people fresh out of college or with lesser experience. They will have big ideas, but they're afraid to begin their own journey. So what is your suggestions to them, and quality that you expect from any budding entrepreneurs who wanted to take up their idea and move forward but are hesitant actually?
See, when you're out of college and young, and if you think that you have a good idea and there is a good vibe from your own professors in the college, or any ecosystem you're exposed to or spoken to, right? And also, professional in professional circle, if there is a thing that there is something in it, in the idea that you're talking about, then it is better to take, in my view, a structured approach, either through NASCOM or some for people who have this incubators and all that, right?
Mhm.
Take a structured approach, because there all the difficult questions are asked actually. How will it
Okay.
happen? What will you do? What you need? I think it is better you make yourself take through some rigor, instead of being in some wishful thinking in your with your own idea, and with few friends of yours, right? If there is an initial prima facie response from your community in the college and friend circle that say it is doing something interesting for the end user or end customer, take it through a
Mhm.
structured incubation process, talk to the right incubator companies or NASCOM or whatever. Take it through the rigor. Once you take it through the rigor, if it stands through the process of rigor, that means you have something that you can build on actually as a minimum value proposition product. Right?
Okay, yeah, nice tips. And what is your vision on AI and IoT startups that you see in India, and what are the impacts that you see because of them in overall ecosystem?
So I think IoT, I mean, both from an India and global perspective, right? Because in India, we have so much of, manufacturing industry, airline industry, and all this, all kinds of utilities. Everywhere, IoT can, automotive, IoT can play, big role, right? I think plus we have the scale of so many cars, and let's say so many lifts and so many engines and whatever devices that need to be proactively monitored, and make sense of the data, either to improve the quality of the product or do a predictive maintenance. So IoT will scale up, in my view, in India in a big way. Right. What are the other points that you asked apart from IoT? AI. Yeah. So AI is kind of an organization DNA. Whether you like it or not, like ERP was many ways back. It has to be an organization DNA, because it impacts businesses, it impacts IT, it impacts technology, it impacts the ecosystem, whether it's supply chain or whatever it is, right? I think AI. There is a lot of hype on AI, but we need to see that that gets translated into real life implementations, and like for example, I talked of AI ops in my own field of IT operations, right? Many people talk about it, but it will when they say AI ops, it is more of a tweak in the existing setup of some data analysis, monitoring alerts kind, but not a structured, learning based, IT operations, right? So I think AI has a big play in everywhere, but I think everyone has to find their niche, and uh, whether it's a solution or a platform that can help that particular business purpose, right? I think it needs to scale up a lot. Right now, we are in a stage where there are a lot of good people, but in terms of actual whole-scale implementation, impacting the end-user experience, and the smarter way of either managing platforms, cities, or equipments and machines, I think probably we are 2 3 years behind.
Mhm.
Probably it will catch up in next 2 3 years, in my view. But there's a lot of potential.
Okay. Okay, nice, nice. So, moving on to the next segment of this episode, rapid fire round.
Uh,
Let me bring on some questions here. Yeah. So, what's the best thing that happened to you this month?
The best thing that happened to me this month is, my daughter went to Carnegie Mellon, and she kind of
Oh,
settled in there. And, when I saw her talking from there, and, getting used to the setup, and started managing herself. She was with us for a long time, 23 years.
mhm.
Now she started managing on her own. That was really heartening for me to see that she's able to manage things on her
Nice,
own after going from here. Yeah.
nice, wonderful to know. Which book you have read recently, and which one inspired you?
Actually, I'm not so much of a book reader, but I read lots and lots of magazines like HBR, Harvard
Okay.
Business Review. And one interesting thing in Harvard Business Review recently that came up, they say that look, 40% of talent acquisition happens happens with people who are not looking for jobs. Whereas,
Okay.
the conventional thing, people go looking in LinkedIn here, there, and all to get people. He says actual hiring happens from people who are not looking for jobs. That was a very interesting observation from my side. And I do a lot of,
Mhm.
kind of reading and on the digital platforms and YouTube. I see a lot of on the business side, on the international politics, business. I absorb as much as I can so that I can take nuggets of it and drop it at some point in conversation and
Okay.
catalyze it a bit from my own perspective. But I don't. I've been a little out of touch with reading books. Actually. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. HBR is a good area to get the business information.
yeah.
Nice. Yeah. What is your favorite sports or game?
Actually, cricket is my favorite sport, and I've not played it for
Mhm.
a long time, but I watch it as much as I
Mhm.
can.
Okay. Your favorite subject in school?
It was science predominantly.
Okay. Nice. What does creativity means to you in one sentence?
I think creativity is, in my view, is kind of unleashing those thoughts from your mind, which can bring a new dimension to the problem solving. Actually, right? So
Okay.
something which is you normally don't think of, but you figure
Mhm.
out why it can't be. But that thought comes to you not necessarily out of the blue, but normally you're able to, because of the situation, that thought comes to you, right? Situation drives creativity many times. Actually.
Okay, okay, nice. What time do you go to sleep and what time you wake up in the morning? And how does your first few hours of morning look like?
See, I split my working hours for 4 5 hours in the morning, and because my clients are in US, I end up being awake till 12 12:30 in the night, right? So typically, I wake up around 7 o'clock, and I think the morning 10 to 1 are peak hours for me in terms of getting the out of things and working on some critical things. Similarly, maybe late, probably around 8 to 10 in the night or 8 to 11 in the night are crucial hours for me to make myself more productive. One is in the beginning of the day, one is when the day is almost ending.
Okay, okay, nice. What's the best compliment you have ever received for the accomplishments you have done so far?
Actually, when I was in Cognizant, probably I think year 2015, probably we used to have this three global conferences every year: one in Orlando, one in Barcelona, and one in Mumbai, for different regions.
Mhm.
These are all there are some 1,000 people from across the globe would come, and the management would talk about strategies. So in that, they used to declare global leadership awards. Actually. So in
Mhm.
2015, I happened to get that leadership award in Orlando. That was
Oh,
the most happiest moment of my professional life.
oh, wonderful to know. Nice. Which subject was tough for you to handle in your school days?
I would say geography. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. Who is your mentor, and how do you make sure that your mentor is available to you when you need them most?
Actually, I've had mentorship, throughout, my cognizant days, and there have been people like the gentleman called A.N. Rao and Nachiket Deshpande, and so
Mhm.
they have kind of helped me during professional days. But after I started my career, my own elder brother is a serial entrepreneur. Uh, he also worked in Wipro and all that. He has his own startups multiple times set up. So he is my mentor in terms of anything to do with my startup. Any advice I need, I go to him. So apart from that,
Okay.
I pick up a lot of stuff from reading. So there are a lot of indirect mentors, I would say, who are helping.
Mhm. Okay, that's nice. So, in a way, you figure out a way to keep them in reach.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
How do you stay calm during a day of chaos?
See, some background for this, right? When I was managing a large oil major account in Wipro, I was their
Mhm.
global crisis manager. Actually. There were three
Oh,
crisis
okay.
managers across the globe. two of them from the company, and I was from the Wipro and from the provider side. So I managed from 3 or 4 real, big crisis environments involving 150,000 people and all that. Whether it's the New Orleans thing that happened, and the Malaysia, there are some crises, and the virus thing. And many of the big crises I was able to manage during those days. I think the initial phase of a crisis is very intense, actually very stressful and intense, because you don't know what the crisis is all about. You don't know what is the dimension of the crisis. But as you get into it and hold yourself and bring the right players together to fix the crisis or address the issue, a lot of things will start come in role, and then it's all communication, how we are managing the crisis, right? I always believe that what I am having this crisis right now, probably in an hour, 2 or 3 or 4 hours, it will get solved. Right? I need to work through the crisis. So I go with the mindset of working through the crisis, understanding the different dimensions, putting the right people into it, and communicating in terms of what's happening. And ultimately, because it cannot be not solved. In our case, many times it's only a technology problem. But even in otherwise, right? It's like the talk of COVID and let's say floods and whatever, right? I think there are some dimensions of that crisis which you quickly need to grasp and put a team in place, and you yourself should lead from the front. And most important thing in a crisis is to lead from the front. Don't wait for some other person to lead. If among that, just look around. If you think you're the guy, you just step forward and take charge. Doesn't matter even if you fail 50%. It's okay. But there is a momentum. That momentum is needed, right? So I think I've always looked at crisis as an opportunity to show or demonstrate leadership. And I keep telling a lot of people in the company earlier, I said, look, that is the time you can shine as well, because whole management is looking at you. Like I was there in Europe, in Cognizant. There was one of the largest Europe customer, for the Cognizant. So I was, overall in charge for that region. So during a crisis situation, I did not think twice. It was one of the difficult crises to manage. I stepped forward, sitting next to CIO. I was managing the entire crisis. So, but that you have to go through that initial phase of stress and understanding what's happening, people asking you questions all around, and then once it starts coming under control, people on the other hand they'll say, okay, thank you for taking charge of the crisis and controlling it. So I think it's an opportunity to prove as well. That's how I see crisis, and that's what I tell people. Yeah, just understand it first, address it, communicate about it, and then normally it comes out. And if there is something beyond what you think you've already done, take help from somewhere, look up, look sideways, and take help from somewhere. That's all.
Okay, that's nice. Wonderful. The last question of this episode. For people who don't know about you and your company, where should they look for, and where do they go?
Yeah, we have our GradientM, www.gradientm.com website. And you can always write to me. My email ID is ravitalwai@gradientm.com. And I'm also there on LinkedIn. You can connect to me. And of course, whoever connects to me, I can give my number to them and we can have a conversation.
That's wonderful. I thoroughly enjoyed this show, and it was wonderful talking to you and getting all the knowledges that you have. Thank you, Ravi. Thank you for coming on this show.
Yeah, thank you, Ashok. Good luck and have a good day.
Thank you. Okay, we are at the end of episode number 26. Thank you very much, Ravi, for coming on and sharing your experiences. And to our listeners, you can find out the episode summary in the description. Until we catch up soon with more exciting stories, stay tuned, be motivated. Thank you.